Good afternoon. I think it's already past in the morning. Thanks for the CBA invitation, and thanks for the chairman's introduction. I know I'm lucky to be the last person because I know for Hungary, you have hypoglycemia. We talked about it, you make agitated. If you have hyperglycemia, you may have drowsy. So I think now it's good for my talk. So you guys will not make your guys sleep. So I just briefly would introduce the background, the trend, and then mainly talk about the clinical development and the global regulatory issues. Because I think we talk about a lot of exploration science research. Now I focus on the regulatory and the clinical development. And other than the kidney and the vascular indications, I'll also very briefly introduce other indications for these obesity, anti-obesity drugs. I think Xinrong's introduction talked to you about the drug mechanism about the integrating biology issues like GLP-1, GIP-1, making me talk my clinical issue very easy. Not become difficult. Just a free talk now. What talk by body weight loss drugs mainly focus on the GLP-1, GIP-1, and also GCGR. So nowadays, anti-obesity drugs are really high competitive, both in US, China, or also globally. Actually, the tirzepatide, we already know that they sell about $1 billion last year, higher the top sell drug in the world. It's how much higher than Keytruda. We know the PD-1 anti-cancer drugs. So tirzepatide made by Eli Lilly already for that. So now this is a really hot topic area. I think CBA provided a very good workshop to discuss anti-obesity drugs. IP support. Okay. We just free talk about talk about loose with drugs.
Sorry for the accident.
No.
Okay. Oh, it's come back too. Okay, good. So just as I said, Xinru already talked about the biology and physiology issue about incretin stuff like GLP-1, GIP-1. Just I did one more GCGR, glucagon receptor, because here, oops. Okay. Here about the GCGR inclusion triglyceride. That's also use the function of that is added the thermogenic and lipid oxidation activity. So now the body weight loss drugs, not just GLP-1, it's also GLP-1, GIP-1, dual agonist. There's also GLP-1, GIP-1, GCGR triagonist. That's also MCR4 through the hypothalamus to treat a special rare genetic obesity. So just to quickly go through the incretin biology. So the reason I talk about this is the obesity is strongly associated with the cardiovascular disease and chronic kidney disease. Also, we know the cardiovascular disease and kidney disease significantly increasing in the last 10 years regarding the prevention. And also, from the regulatory perspective, they are encouraged to do the new therapeutic areas, not just for the reduced body weight and the diabetes. I had a nephrology background, clinical background training. I'm not an endocrinologist, but this stage is published in 2023 from American Heart Association. The reason I mention this is because the obesity drug, not just for the metabolic issues, involved cardiovascular issues or kidney issues. That's why American Heart Association proposed in 2023 talk about the endocrine, cardiovascular, kidney is one axis. So the axis crawl in four stages. Stage one, of course, you may just have obesity, but you're healthy. But for stage two, you have overweight, but you have resistance to the insulin and early stage of hypertension. That's cardiovascular, metabolic, and also increased body weight, stage one. Okay. Okay. Now the mouse working now. So stage two is a metabolic disease, type 2 obesity, stage 3. So the reason is when you develop a drug, you are not just focused on the reduced body weight or diabetes. You focus on the cardiovascular, renal, and even stroke, neurology issues. That's why in the different stage, you develop different drug. I just briefly introduced the category proposed by American Heart Association in 2023. So the clinical development today are mainly focused on the, what use this anti-obesity drug works on the cardiovascular disease and the kidney disease. For the cardiovascular disease, mainly focus on the two indications. One is a major cardiovascular events. We call the CBA-USA cardiovascular outcome trial. So this trial is very popular for all different drugs. If you develop omega-3 or you develop any other drugs to really convince people, especially for the regulatory people, to believe this drug should be approved, should be in the market, you have to do CBA outcome. You cannot just use, HDL or something like that. You have to reach the cardiovascular outcome. That's one issue. Second is talk about the heart failure, which called heart failure with the preserved ejection fraction. So I will talk this two indications for cardiovascular. So that's the semaglutide trial. Semaglutide we have Novo Nordisk, right? This is the GLP-1 single agonist, just GLP-1. So that trial involved 41 countries and 17,000 people. So for CBA outcome trial, it's really challenged. You have to list at least 10,000 people do the trial. Otherwise, it's hard to get a positive result. So the dose is 2.4 milligrams sub-Q weekly for 4 years and 18 months. And the endpoint is the cardiovascular death, non-fatal myocardial infarction, and stroke. So the criteria the patient select is obesity, non-diabetes, and they have cardiovascular history. So this 10,000 patients were studied with the semaglutide. So here you can see the primary composite endpoint, like 3-point cardiovascular death, myocardial infarction, stroke. So there's significant difference between the semaglutide and the placebo. That's the 4-year study, 10,000 patients. And there's the cardiovascular death. That's also a little bit difference. P is 0.07, not reach the statistically significant. And for the heart failure, it's also there's a little bit different, but there's no static analysis because this is not the primary endpoint. And the death from any cause death, that's also in the not primary endpoint, but just did analysis. That also shows some difference between the semaglutide and the placebo. So the phase 3 trial, we call it SELECT trial. Study outcomes show that, the MACE, the major cardiovascular events, show significant difference between the treatment, semaglutide, and placebo. And this is the first time to show the obesity drug, not just for the reduced obesity, but also significantly reduce the cardiovascular events. So in December 2003, FDA added the new label to the obesity drug, to just semaglutide, not other drugs. Just semaglutide gets the drug new label. So the patients who have cardiovascular events can get benefit from the semaglutide. That's the one trial, cardiovascular induction. This the second trial is to do the heart failure, not just the cardiovascular event, but heart failure. This because this we talk about the preserved heart failure has 2 types. One is the preserved, one is reduced. So for reduced heart failure, there are several treatments and easily to figure out or diagnostic. For the preserved heart failure, sometimes there's no good approved therapy. So that's the reason they studied the semaglutide for the heart failure with preserved ejection fraction. So this is the 26th subject. For heart failure, may be relatively easy to less sample size. So 260 patients is good. So same dose like the SELECT trial. And the endpoint is the hospitalization, cardiovascular death, 6 minutes walk, and the KCCQ, which is a lifetime score, and also the measured biomarker, brain natural peptide. So they use this marker to show if the semaglutide drug can reduce or improve the heart failure patients with the preserved ejection fraction. And the entry criteria is similar, the obesity, heart failure with preserved ejection fraction. So in this trial, there's a 2-year trial, I believe. So we can see this data here. For KCCQ, this lifestyle, there's significant difference. For the body weight, they even more different between the treatment and placebo. So the drug significantly reduced the body weight, much significantly difference between the placebo and treatment. The reason I'm here is talk about here is you will get why FDA give no approval. And they also show the C-reactant is inflammatory issues that difference, and also show the 16 walk difference. The 16 walk is function, just like patients is a standard criteria for heart failure, for primary hypertension drug approval. You walk 60 minutes, you show the significant difference between treatment and placebo. So it's the difference is a 21.5 meter difference, which means it's a clinical meaningful difference. So the conclusion here is, although the improvement in study cannot differ from the reduction in body weight, that's the FDA conclusion. So you have a significant difference in the clinical scenario, different scenario, but FDA believe this major change because you reduce the body weight. So you reduce the body weight, improve all the functions you measured, but this means you have not showed the drug is independently benefit to the heart failure. So far, this indication had not been approved by FDA. even though the cardiovascular outcome get approved by FDA, but the heart failure preserved injector have not approved by FDA because FDA believe you significantly reduce the body weight, so you can provide all the benefit showed here. It's not independent working in the heart and provide the benefit. Now back to the kidney disease. So for the kidney disease, it's also a phase 3 trial we call the FLOW study. This is the 3,500 patients with a chronic kidney disease. I start up on the trial, and the endpoint of original at the beginning you measure the proteinuria, and later then you measure the kidney function. We call it GFR. Sorry, it's not a FFE GFR, and end-stage renal disease and dialysis. And the second point is eGFR MACE, cardiovascular outcome, and all-cause mortality. So the entry criteria is this is not just the obesity, it's the diabetes and chronic kidney disease. So they took complications together was involved in the study. All this study was published in New England Journal of Medicine. I forgot to mention, all the trials are published in New England Journal of Medicine. So this FLOW trial shows the major kidney significant difference between the treatment and semaglutide placebo. So it's a significant difference, p-value very small. And also GFR slope, also very significant difference. Which measure the renal function. This is proteinuria. And they also measure the cardiovascular outcome trial. That's p-value 0.02, even also induce the cardiovascular events. And then from any cause of death, that's all significantly reduced for the diabetes patient with the kidney problem. So because this is very positive result, so FDA in just this year, in January this year, approved, put the label, just like semaglutide can be used in patients with diabetes and kidney disease. And also in 2020, in July, China regulations also approved this indication for semaglutide. Because time limited, I'll very briefly introduce other indications, not that cardiovascular and kidney, but also talk about other indications. As I said, the anti-obesity drug is involved in multiple systems. So when you work with GLP-1, GIP stuff, so you may consider any other indications. So and also in all over the world, people explore a lot of different indications involve different systems here. So one thing we may know, the tirzepatide, which is the GL1, GIP-1 dual agonist, approved by FDA for the obstructive sleep apnea, and this indication is very important, and this is approved December 24. I will not talk about the detailed data. And like the NASH, you may know the metabolic steroid hepatitis or non-alcohol hepatitis. It's a very hot topic area right now, therapeutic area. So it's a very highly competitive. So now there are also several anti-obesity drugs are involved in this field, like semaglutide. This is GLP-1, tirzepatide is made from Lilly's dual agonist. These two drugs are approved. Retatrutide is a tri-agonist, GLP-1, GIP-1, GCGR. Pemvidutide is GIP-1, GCGR, glucagon receptor 2 dual agonist. I know this drug is, I think, made by a company in Gettysburg. I don't know if anyone from this company, Alpine Immune. This drug is also, very famous now because they use GLP and GCGR, not the GLP, GIP. Tirzepatide, semaglutide was approved by FDA for obesity and diabetes. It's a single GLP-1 and tirzepatide GLP, GIP. But pemvidutide is GLP and GCGR. It's very rare, but it's in development right now. So this is for the MASH and NASH for liver disease, and also for GLP-1 and the GCGR. Retatrutide is also working in the hypoglycemia, dyslipidemia for antilipidemic drugs. And this current status is still in the meta-analysis, show participants is not in trial. But in the MASH, and it's already in the late stage clinical development. This drug is also being used in the polycystic ovary syndrome, which is liraglutide. Liraglutide is a long-acting GLP-1 product, and also obesity with the hypogonadism GLP-1. And these two drugs are still in the off-label use, but in the polycystic ovary PCOS is still also in late stage and clinical development, already in the off-label use. For the hypogonadism, this is just from the early observation. It also has been used in the neurology disease, so for Parkinson's disease and for the Alzheimer's disease. The mechanism here is like the neuroprotection is called inflammation, nucleation, and it's all in the phase 3 trial. For the exonide, we know that phase 3 field have not confirmed the result, but the semaglutide is still in the phase 3 trial and waiting for the result. For the Alzheimer's disease, there has been used possibly improve the neural insulin signaling, and it's the current phase 3 and the trial ongoing. So we may get the result in the next 2 to 3 years if the anti-obesity drug can also be used for the Alzheimer's disease. For dermatology, they also be used, for of these drugs, and even for the oncology drug product. So just brief summary for the other indications. This is not just for the cardiovascular kidney disease, because semaglutide already get approved for the cardiovascular kidney disease. Other dual agonists, triagonists, are also working on the cardiovascular kidney disease. And for the other indications, hopefully for the MASH and NASH, we will get the result in next 2 to 3 years. And because this already in the late stage clinical trial, let's wait for what kind of other benefit can be get from the anti-obesity drugs. Regarding the regulatory issues, we already know so far this cardiovascular kidney injury was only approved in US, but kidney also approved in China, have not been approved in Europe yet. So the clinical development seem like based on the we saw from semaglutide, so we can go this way, like major cardiovascular events, heart failure, preserved ejection fraction, and kidney disease. And we also can study the multiple indication platform trial same time. I mentioned different indications, depending on what kind of facility, what kind of resource you have to do the clinical trial development. Here, just briefly talk about the different regulatory agencies. For FDA, they is really talk about the needs the data to support indication. As long as you have good enough data, you can get approval and put the drug in new label. For EMA, they really focus on European populations and also need to robust the CVOT evidence to support indication expansion. For China, they encourage to work with different regulatory agencies outside China based on overseas data, and they can get some very briefing study. You have approval from other regulatory agencies, but you can do the breeding study, very small sample size to get the same indication, just like the trial just mentioned for the kidney indication. So here, because of the time, I just quickly go through when you develop a new indication, not just for the obesity or diabetes, different stage based on the medical health situation, you may choose different strategy for developing your drug in different stage to develop your drug. Here, it's I think what we talk about an AI trial study. I know recent couple of years, a lot of AI information with the AI to involve in the drug development, not just the trial design, but also real world data to develop a new indication. We know already NVIDIA have been involved, work with Eli Lilly to develop the drug for different indications. So AI is really topic here. Second is the triagonist, because it's a very competitive for semaglutide and other single target GLP-1A. So triagonist and also oral agents, because right now approved drug is sub-Q, and the oral drug just approved last week. I think 2 months ago, oral drug also available, but still you need to take daily. So now long term, you give the patient monthly, every month, just 1 injection. Also, it's popular and it's a hot topic for research right now. So the key issue here is because most of them may come from different level. The key issue here is how so for the early stage biotech, how can they do? Because it's a large sample size, huge money need to spend for do the clinical development. But for early stage biotech, how to do? Actually, there's so many small biotech companies are working in this area. As I said, they work in the dual agonist, triagonist, sub-Q, use the oral instead sub-Q, and use long term, like use the 1 month, maybe even longer, to just not use like currently, you do weekly or do daily oral. So that's the issue in the future. So I talk about it. Thank you.